First of all, thank you for doing this because
Of course.
I'm a fan, not just of you in the film, but you're love Doughboys. As I tweeted, you're a better interviewer than I am. You've interviewed Jennifer Lawrence. I haven't.
I don't know if you watch that interview. I think that you may go back on me being a better interviewer than you. I've interviewed some people who have gone on to. I mean, I interviewed Jennifer Lawrence before she was even in X-Men. X-Men hadn't come out at that point. She had done Winter's Bone, and I don't know. I don't know if like did she was she nominated for an Oscar for Winter's Bone? She was. Okay.
First Oscar nomination.
I don't know. I don't know if like the Oscars had happened at that point or what the deal was. But I was just lucky. I who else did I? Brie Larson. Like there was like a bunch of people that I interviewed through that show before they got gigantic. It was a hit maker. That show was a hit maker, except for the people who were in the show, except for me.
Yeah. No, I have interviewed Brie Larson, so you don't get to brag about that one. No.
All right, fair enough.
I will say I watched that interview. It's still pretty good. There's something about your befuddlement at them being there that really does like disarm them well.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it was always terrifying to not like the producers of the show who are great friends still, which is Jack Allison and Evan Susser and Van Robichaud. Like they would do a great job, and they wanted me to not know who the person was. Like that was their ideal guest, is that it was an actress who I had no idea who it was, and I was turning red, and they like that's what they wanted more than anything. And there was a ton of other people who wrote on that show who were fantastic and super funny people, but yeah, no, they really would love it if they wanted Jennifer Lawrence to come out and for me to not know who it was, but I weirdly had seen Winter's Bone and knew a little bit that she was in X-Men and stuff like that. So
it made it better because you're like, no, you shouldn't be here. But there's something about when you're friends, because your friends can fuck with you in a way that like your producer shouldn't. Like at a certain point, you're like, I can't work with you anymore. But them, there's really no limit to what they can do. I mean, Jack put you on TV being scared of a ghost. Like
100. I mean, yes. That I mean, and I knew that was going to be the biggest thing, like one of the biggest things I'd ever done. There were like moments like that where I was in a Funny or Die video with Tom Brady. It was one moment, and then the moment in the sketch or whatever, I guess what would that be classified under? The prank? Yeah. The late night prank. That those two would be the biggest thing that I've ever done, because one, for back home, Tom Brady is like the biggest thing on earth, and then people love to see someone like Schwab a little bit, where I was like, where I would do that thing of like, what's happening here? But still, I was scared. You hear a violin play under your the floorboards, and you get scared. They had a guy with a violin under my floorboards playing a violin, and I was terrified. It's funny because like I've gone on to be and stuff, and so I've like looked at that video, and people will be like he's actually an actor. I'm like, yeah, but I'm still afraid of ghosts.
Yeah, I wasn't really acting then. Like I know.
Yeah.
No, it's funny, and it's cool to. I feel like for someone like you, who, like movies, you've been in a handful at this point, but this is clearly the biggest thing you've been in. But
for sure, yeah.
If if someone found you from either a random Funny or Die video or the podcast, like there's this like investment people put in you. You can see it on social media with how many people are like into this role. That listen, it's a fun role, but could easily have been like, who's willing to work for $20 and got 2 weeks to be on set.
For sure, yeah. No, I think that like and I think that that's like a hard thing to kind of convey to a lot of people, of like how hard it is to get something like that, something that's even that small, like because I'm not like when I saw the movie too, there was stuff that we shot that got cut out, but I knew exactly my role when the movie started. Like I didn't I didn't think that it was something gigantic, and I was very happy for Sam Richardson, who was already blowing up in I mean, practically doesn't even. I mean, like this is just another great thing to put on his resume, and it's great because he's like one of the funniest people working, and he should continue to be in giant blockbusters. So, and I knew my place in the movie. I knew what it was for sure, but like when people are like, I saw it and like, you know, Mitch is in it for like a little bit or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, that's so hard to.
Yeah.
It's so hard to get something like that. It's just like, first of all, it's luck. You know what I mean? Like, of course, there's the side of it of like, oh, you got to be good at what you do or whatever. And I don't like, I'm not saying that's true with me. I'm just saying like, you have to be able to act a little bit, and then also you have to have a lot of luck because there's a lot of talented people that I know and love, and that struggle with this stupid business every day. So it's that sort of thing of like, oh, I was super lucky to be in something like this. So I'm grateful for it, you know, like, and I probably owe a lot of it to the podcast and that support that people give me. So I'm happy for it. I know the producer, Samantha Neeson Boyum, who I love, and who she's a big supporter of mine. She put me in the movie because of the podcast, basically. So.
Well, I mean, it's like if you're smart enough to realize, like with smaller roles, if we can put people in it that the audience already brings something to, you're doing a lot of the work. And like credit to her, and like obviously credit to Chris McKay for going, let's put comedians in this movie because they have to be overwhelmed. And like, you know, if you weren't taking a funny approach to, oh shit, I'm probably gonna die, you just every character would be crying in the corner until they were killed. So it, you know, there's something to that, to like, oh, let's cast people that people already like and are inherently funny in like, especially like Doughboys. You know, obviously there's some degree of acting there, but a lot of it is just, I'm annoyed that I'm doing this. Why am I eating this? This is stupid.
For sure. I mean, like for Nick Weiger and I, when we were starting that podcast, it was basically because we wanted to do something with each other. Like I have always thought Nick is insanely funny. He's such a funny guy, and was like one of the funniest writers, sketch writers, and just writers in general, just that I had ever met. And so that was a part of it to do the podcast together. And then the other thing is that like you like slowly age out of like doing live performing. I hope to continue to do it now that the world's back open. I want to go and do it more than anything, but there comes a time where you're like, I don't want to go to like a small black box theater in like the middle of the week and do a show for people, and then the show doesn't go well or whatever, and then you got to drive like 40 minutes home, and you're like, what am I doing? So like, I think for us, it was that way of like, oh, this is like another stage in a way or whatever. And turn into that sort of thing of like, what I came out here to do. It's that funny thing is like, what I came out here to do is like to perform and, you know, try to be in TV and movies. And so the podcast is kind of like the thing where I like to do it, but then like we put ourselves through hell a lot of the time. Not I mean, like it's the easiest gig on earth. Like that it's and I shouldn't even call it a gig. I sound like a shitty Hollywood guy. It's like it's the easiest gig on earth. But it is that sort of thing of like we eat fast food and we talk to funny people and so it's, you know, like what, and we get paid for it. So what's better than that? But I think that both of us are like, we try to be real for the audience. We try to eat all the bad food we can. We try to eat a lot of the menu. We take it seriously. We take that part seriously because people care about it, you know, and people want to hear about these restaurants. It's the truth. Like everyone has a connection to these places. So I sometimes take it too seriously, and I sometimes eat too much food, and I make myself feel like crap. And on top of that, like I'm a guy who loves that food anyways. Yeah. So like it's that sort of thing of like, oh, I'm like gonna probably eat fast food at least once a week anyhow. And now I'm doing it with the podcast. And so like my takeout numbers skyrocketed, and it's like such a balance. And sometimes I feel like my blood feels like gravy, and we're like trying to figure out a way to do it, whether it's seasons or something like that, where we figure out a way to kind of balance it a little bit better. But we do still love doing it, and then other times it can be a pain in the ass because it can be work. But like, so is like making a movie is a pain in the ass. Like, I loved the Tomorrow War, and like that could be a pain in the ass, you know, like you got to wake up at 5 a.m. and you got to and like it's the most fun in the world, like it rules, but it's still, it doesn't mean that like you're not going to get annoyed, or it's just like you're going to be happy with a giant smile on your face because you're like, in the Tomorrow War, we were running, we ran we ran so much.
Yeah.
We and I was very afraid that I wasn't going to be able to keep up, and I was slow, but I luckily kept up, and I didn't get hurt weirdly.
And for you, you know, they specifically were I don't know if they specifically said it, but the implication is we don't want you to like get ripped. Like, you're supposed to look like you. Like, we hired you because you're you. Like, Sam's supposed to look like Sam.
Yeah.
Chris has already become Chris Pratt, so we want him to look like that. But you're supposed to look out of your depth and like barely keeping up. No,
for sure. Yeah, no, I think that's like we got gun training to kind of like, you know, to look like, you know, I'm actually more for safety, but to look like they gave us a few days worth of training with guns, and also just for more so for safety issues. But there's a moment in the movie that like it's like you like maybe only I will notice this, but Jared Shaw, who plays Tank in the movie, who's great. I love Jared. There's a moment where we run through the red smoke, and then the tanks, the white spikes knock the tanks over.
Yeah.
And Jared, like, he grabs my back and like pulls me to a spot where I'm supposed to be, like intentionally, like that was like I'm the dummy and he's been there before. And I'm like, oh, that's such like a little great moment that I don't know if anyone will pick up on, because that, you know, mostly the stuff in Miami, which was Atlanta, you know, it got trimmed. It got probably cut from what I thought it was going to be, like probably in half, but it works really well. It works great. So no complaints, but it's that sort of thing of like, oh, that's like a nice little touch that I hope people saw, and a great job by Jared to be like, get over here, idiot. So yeah, no, like, yeah, we're not supposed to know what we're doing. And, you know, I didn't really, it was terrifying shooting a gun for me. Like, it was crazy how comfortable I got just holding this giant gun, this giant AR on set. Like it became second nature. I was like, all right, I got it. And, you know, they would grab it from you between takes. But honestly, like, once you were cleared, sometimes I would just have it around my neck and hold on to it too. But like, especially after we fired, they'd come and take the guns. So
please don't damage.
By the way, I mean, yeah, that's another part of it. By the way, you have a great Mountain Dew shirt on it.
I know, right? And it was like a $7 Walmart shirt or something like that.
Hell, one of those could be some of the best. I had to point it out.
I was debating. I was like, I either go with a food related shirt for Doughboys, or I go with like a Jet shirt just to piss you off.
Or what?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we broke
what
up.
shirt did you say after that? Or you paused for just a second?
Or a Jet shirt just to piss you off. The Jets.
Yeah.
But
I wouldn't be pissed off. I would be like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My college roommate was a Jets fan. Matt Grana, good guy. He was a Jets fan.
We had our one time where we got you, but as a general rule,
you did.
I mean, listen, I can't even be mad.
The one song I was like, because you guys had Mancini, right? You had Mancini, and you had when you guys got it was the who unfairly I'm calling Rex Ryan, right? Was the guy who you had when you got him.
Sanchez was the guy we had. Hang on.
Oh, sorry. As a coach, was it Rex? Was it Rex Ryan?
Yeah. It was Rex Ryan when we beat you, because we had Mangini, then fired him, then hired Rex. Sorry, you broke up for a second.
And then Mangini, Mangini caused the Patriots a lot.
We broke up. He's gonna come back. And we're back. You're on mute. You're muted. There we go.
Was everything saved?
I mean, I have a guy who'll edit it, but yeah. Apparently, as soon as we start talking sports, as soon as we turn in the mic on no, trust me.
The people don't want to hear sports, I guess.
I don't care. Like I literally had Aaron Sorkin last year for Trial of Chicago 7 for like 10 minutes, but we're both Met and Jet fans, so that was 5 of it just out the window.
Hell yeah, why not?
We don't get to be happy. Like we just get to watch shitty sports. But it's true.
It will change someday. Someday it will. It's got to come around. So just the law of probabilities. These shows that you need to.
I mean, for you don't get to be upset for the next like 15 years. You have to just accept being like an 8-8 team.
Yeah, that's kind of how I was like when people were so mad about like when people were upset about Cam, and I was like, Cam is cool. I like Cam.
Yeah.
And also like we almost made the playoffs. What's going on here? Like, relax, everybody. So I had no hard feelings towards that team, and I'm excited to have Cam back. I want to see what happens.
Yeah, it would be like it's a whole different type of watching the game. Like you watch the same thing for 20 years, like a guy do things one way and it worked. So Cam,
it worked well.
Yeah, he's the exact opposite, and like he can't do what he used to do, but he's still fun. I mean, you could probably do without the bouncing passes in front of people, 4 or 5 times a game. But aside from that,
sure, yeah, and like honestly, it's that other thing too of like he didn't have a full, like that was his first season. He's now had a full season under his belt, so like, and a full season for the Patriots coaching staff to kind of maybe figure out his game better too after having Brady for so long. So like maybe this year it will be great. Maybe it will be a surprise. I'm excited for it. I think it could be good. So
yeah, I mean, just to end on that, like there's no bad team in the East anymore. Like there used to always be a dog.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we got 2 wins against the Dolphins or the Jets or the Bills.
Yeah.
Like the Jets and the Patriots are probably the 2 worst teams, and they're both like definitely on the upswing. Like the Bills are great.
Yeah.
If they had a better quarterback, would be amazing. But
yeah, no, I agree.
I mean, they can.
I don't like you saying that.
No,
I don't like you saying it because it's probably true. I was like, I guess the Jets and the Patriots are right there with each other. Yeah,
it'll be interesting. It's funny when you talk about. One of my favorite parts of the podcast is always when it starts with like, I feel sick, because that means you guys ate a lot. And
yeah.
There's nothing more relatable than that, I feel like, which is probably why the podcast works so well. Is everything about it is very relatable. Like I was at, you guys did your Sugarfish episode, which was amazing. There's the hand roll spinoff, Kaz Murray.
Yes.
And I took someone there for the first time, and I went a little crazy. I had 19 rolls.
Oh my God.
And I don't know if you have this feeling. This is probably gross, but why not? When you start to eat too much,
like
you start to like your sense of smell starts to disappear. You're like, I've had too much food.
I like your body is happening. I feel like with sushi, like with sushi, it's that sort of thing of getting stuffed on sushi is always kind of gross me out. It's a type of food that like I feel like I shouldn't get like completely stuffed on. It's a bunch of raw fish, obviously. Oh, yeah. I try to avoid that as much as possible. I try not to get like the sushi sweats or whatever, like I don't want to eat too much. But 19 rolls is my mom and sister were just here, and I took them to Sugarfish. That was we went to Sugarfish, which there was was it New York Times or was some review from New York that like really tore apart Sugarfish.
They gave it a 0 times. They gave it a 0-star review.
That's so insane.
It's the way I feel it's got to be is like a food critic has to be a little high end. Like if a food critic can't review McDonald's, like it just doesn't work. Like like my job is literally to review like the Oscar movie and like, the shitty movie. Like that's just how it works. You're supposed to. And I think they just don't like the idea of like affordable omakase. Like, oh, this is not, $200 and you have to reserve 2 weeks in advance. And that's,
Yes.
or I think they also,
Which like
and they
that's a
didn't,
good thing.
yeah.
What's wrong with you guys?
And they didn't like the rice, which is easily the best part. They're like,
The rice is so good.
right? It's amazing.
The rice is fantastic. Warm, like light rice. It's so good.
Yeah. The time before I had been at Kazunori, I asked someone what the record was for hand rolls. And I was like, oh, what can it be? And someone was like, it was 31. And they're like, but the guy immediately went and threw up in the bathroom.
Oh my God, that is horrendous.
What a waste. And I was like, there's no prize or t-shirt. They're like, no, we don't care.
No, yeah, in fact, don't do it.
It was like, there's literally nothing stopping me from saying I had 32 and being the king. They're like, no. I'm like, okay, just tell everyone I did it. And I didn't. But that's the thing that makes, I think, the podcast so fun, is the food aspect being relatable. But also, what do you do after a good meal or a good movie? You want to talk about it with people, like.
For sure, yeah. I know, and again, it is that sort of thing of like, oh, like everyone has an opinion on Burger King or whatever. Like these places are not only does everyone have an opinion on it because like everyone has had to eat there at one point in their lives or another. Like it's a very small number of people who haven't.
Yeah.
But also like a lot of the times they're connected to big moments in people's lives or like their childhood memories or whatever. So that's another thing that makes people that like really care about what we have to say about it, because Burger King is where they went after prom, or McDonald's is like where they went and ate the day like like someone they loved passed away or something like that. There's all these emotional connections to it. And then on the other side, like like for a lot of working class people, like they depend on fast food. Yeah. Like they need fast food, and not saying that that's a good thing. Like obviously no. Our system is a little broken, but like it is a thing that like people need to sometimes get that KFC meal deal to feed their family. And so of course it's something that people know and talk about, and like, are the ethics behind it all good? No, like we know and we acknowledge that. So like, like that's like another part of it. I mean, like that's always the thing that makes us feel a little bit icky, because we don't want to be like commercials for these places, but a lot of the times we kind of are, because like we're just trying to review it like based on taste and what they do. But a lot of times, like, we love it. I love Wendy's, and that's a giant corporation that's not good. You know what I mean? So what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, you guys are honest about it. Like, listen, every time it's a Shake Shack episode, it's the the ethics of Big Laurie. Like, how big a monster is he?
Like, I know he ruined Maxim.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A. Anytime there's a thing, you bring it up, and that's important. And that
I gotta be clear that I don't really think he ruined Maxim. Maxim was shitty, but I had to. I need the people watching this to know that I don't think that he really ruined Maxim. No. But he is a weirdo who is, I think, is not a great guy.
They had one in New York that was one of his, and it was weird that's how almost everyone had Steak and Shake in New York, because it was like near Letterman, and like one of those tiny menued places. And like, it's still tasty, but it's not the same.
Yeah. It's not. Oh no, it feels over at this point. And by the way, just the reviewer for the person who reviewed oh god, now I forgot the name of it. The sushi restaurant. Sugarfish. The reviewer who reviewed Sugarfish is kind of a great example of reviewers getting it wrong, which also happened with Tomorrow War. I just want to point out that
not me. I liked it.
But you liked it, of course, yeah.
It is. I will say there is something very interesting about seeing something way early. Sometimes for these press days, especially now with the virtual stuff, they'll show you about a month early, and you feel like you liked it, but there's something about needing validation. Like, there's nothing
for sure
more tense than at a film festival or like something where you're the only review, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I like it. I think it's good, but I could be an idiot. Like, there's a chance I'm just an idiot. Like,
that is like a thing, especially in the age of Twitter, which I think is like frustrating. Of like kind of like, I don't want to say like group think, because I don't want to sound like a crazy person, but like that sort of thing of like, oh, the validation of other people disliking it, or kind of like dipping your toe in the water and being like, is this right? Is this like the popular opinion to have? And I think that that's like, I remember this happened with like, I saw Phantom Menace and I really loved it. And then after the move, like after a while, people were like, it sucks. And I was like, oh, okay, like this is, and I remember like changing my thought on it and like my stance on it and being like, I don't like the movie when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I kept that for a long time. And then when I got older, I was like, when that movie came out, like I liked it and I thought it was a lot of fun. And also like when I watched it as an adult, I was like, this movie has good moments. There's a lot of good stuff in Phantom Menace. Like there's the pod racing scene is great. There's like a lot of good stuff that I like about it. And I kind of figured out like, oh, I was kind of going with the group on excuse me, I was kind of going with the group on that one. I was trying to be like, oh, everyone else hates it, I'm gonna hate it too, when it wasn't really the case.
We don't have like nuanced opinions when we're like teenagers watching movies. Or you know, little younger, depending on your age. Like I'm 34, so I was right
Yeah.
in like the beginnings of there's something like I feel like Watto's not cool, but you know, all right, sure. But yeah,
there's of course things you can criticize about the movie for sure, but like yeah, it's like the way they and that's like my thought with like a lot of criticism now is like I think the Tomorrow War is like a fun movie, and I think there were reviewers who got it like it's like a big fun action throwback action movie and sci-fi / a little bit of horror. And I think that like the critics who got it were like, it's fun and it's a good time. And then the other ones were like, you should not watch this. And I'm like, but like I'm also like, it's an original idea, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like that's the thing that maybe bothers me the most is kind of like in other Marvel movies coming out this weekend, and hey, if people like to go and see those movies, that's great. Like they should go. And the star of the Tomorrow War is in Marvel movies, so I'm critical of Marvel movies on the podcast, but I do that because literally they are like the McDonald's of movies. You know what I mean? Like you can be critical of them; it's not that big of a deal. But it's that sort of thing to me of like, man, everyone like loves these Marvel movies that a lot of the times I feel like the same thing and feel kind of like this kind of like CGI goop over and over again, and you're seeing like a lot of the same things time and time again, and then I'm like, and then to be like so hard on like a new original idea is it bums me out. But also whatever, to each their own. If they don't like it, that's fine. So I don't care. But
it's hard to parse like what people want is the thing. Like I like the Marvel movies, but I'm clear-eyed that like they're like designed to be very similar every time. So if you like one, you're probably gonna like all of them. Like it's
yes,
they're doing that.
I enjoy them a lot. For the most part, I do. This is like me breaking my character from the show, but I do enjoy some of them. You know what I mean? Like I do enjoy. I go and see all of them. I watch all of them, and like I want to because I love movies. I want to see whatever's going on. So I like they're big events. They're big spectacles. But like I I feel like it's that sort of thing of I wish we saw new stuff on the screen. Like that's what I care about more, just seeing like new ideas. Yeah. Well, and not everything is like MCU or reboots or whatever,
Which is what, helps with Tomorrow War. I mean, granted, like the elevator pitch is pretty like clear, like, oh, Terminator meets this. Like, they have the
for sure
Independence Day meets Terminator. Like, that's how you get a movie made. Like, it's just like
yes,
you were there. It was not a cheap movie. Like, they're not writing it unless it sounds like something that makes money. But
yeah, no, and I give credit to Pratt for like wanting to do something different, and Pratt and McKay like making like there is an easy route to go there and not do something that's like we never seen White Spikes before. It was fun to see the White Spikes. They were fun and scary and like interesting. So like that to me is the sort of thing of like, oh, with whatever, with a lot of like MCU stuff, like I just see it feels like within the same world or whatever, and it feels like you're seeing the same thing again, and it's not a bad thing. Like you're saying, like that can be a lot of fun. They can be. I'll go see Black Widow this week. I know I will, but like
Yeah.
It's that sort of thing of like, oh, this is like a new scary thing. You don't really know what you're getting into. You don't know what the story is. You know, you don't know who's going to live or die, and that's like a fun part of it to me. So I was also going to say that I don't want to break. Is it kayfabe, the wrestling term?
Yeah, kayfabe is the wrestling thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want to say, but I didn't know if I was going to pronounce it incorrectly, so I went with character.
It would be in character if you pronounced it incorrect. I will say, I have tried to watch wrestling recently. You need to believe it's real to enjoy it.
Like, oh no, I love it. I love it, and I know that they're showmen. They
watch it as like performance art almost. Like, oh, it's watching my soap opera. Like, it's all elevated, heightened reality. But
for sure, but you know what? Like, when I was my first time when I was into wrestling, I was like 15 or 16, and I knew at that point that it wasn't, like that these are storylines and stuff like that. But like, some of those storylines are like really, really great. And like the co-host of my podcast Doughboys, Nick Weiger, and I we go and see live wrestling shows, like indie wrestling shows in Los Angeles. Me, Mike Carlson, Evan Susser. There's a crew of us, Justin Donaldson, a few of us that go down and we watch PWG, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. We watch, and then a lot of those people get taken up, and like they're such going there and watching it coming from like a comedy background. It was funny because we were like, man, so many of these people, these men and women, are like funny and good performers, and then also like extremely gifted athletically. They're like, they're so good at what they do.
Very unfair. It's like acting. You're just like, you can't be smart and beautiful and talented. That's not fair. There's like 6 of you.
Like, oh yeah, no, it's insane. They're like and we've become friendly with Colt Cabana and John Morrison and a few others, Excalibur and guys like that, Joey Janela. Like we talk to people in that world, and they're all having great success right now. AEW is really great. So I still appreciate it. I can get into the storylines, but I do love just seeing the athleticism is really cool to watch.
I think there's a weird like delineation. I think when you start matters. So like, I was young enough that it was like, ooh, this might be real. Because when you watch when you're a little kid, like Hulk Hogan looks like a superhero, whatever. And then I took a break, probably because I was probably wrestling with my sister, and my mom was like, you can't watch it anymore. Like, it was very much a brand of like late 80s, early 90s. Like, no, you can't do that. And then when I came back, it was like Stone Cold Steve Austin and stuff like that. And it helps if you still hold on to like that it might be real. Because, oh, he's going after the boss, and like he hit him with a bedpan and like nonsense. But when you realize it's fake, you then go, someone came up with that, and that they're mad geniuses, some of those writers.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like, I know, and not to get into the Vince McMahon's history and how, I mean, like, obviously there's some genius there, and is it evil genius possibly? But like,
he is the Chick-fil-A of wrestling. You're like, it's delicious. Definitely not good for you.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, I say, is like I've said this on the podcast, but I think I called him a top 5 fictional character of all time. I think that Stone Cold is like, and I knew it. Like I used to think it was like, I just thought it was so funny. Like, I thought so much of that stuff was like hilarious. Like him hitting Vince McMahon with a bedpan,
amazing.
And then my buddy Adam Wu, who I call Wu Tang, and who we all call Wu Tang. We were in Latin class together, and we would walk in, and he'd like stun me. So like that was like we loved Stone Cold. He was awesome, and we also knew that like we knew it was like a giant character. We didn't really act like Stone Cold, and we weren't really stunning people, but like I think that era was so fun, and I still think that like when you go and see indie shows, you see like will go to an indie show and see something that I like haven't seen ever before, and it's so cool to watch. Yeah. It's like going to a UCB theater or something and seeing like young funny people do stuff. It's cool.
Oh yeah. We'll wrap up on wrestling, but I remember, I think it was either junior high school or high school, the teacher in like the lunchroom announcing not to do it, but they didn't know what it was. They called it the shocker, and that just made it way worse.
Oh my God.
I remember like never be that out of touch. Always know the thing you tell children not to do. Like,
yes, I think that's good advice still. Don't do it, everybody. Yeah. Don't do this. No. Stay away from the shocker.
He would probably do it. He's like, I podcast and sit in my chair and make money now. Don't do it. Uh, it's funny doing this like right after they announced the sequel to your movie,
Mhm.
which I'm sure is bittersweet for you, perhaps.
Sure, yeah, and there's that thing with time travel. Anything can happen. You know what I mean? But I don't know if they'll go out of their way to try to figure out Colin's situation. That's as much as I can say without spoiling things. But
Yeah.
I don't know if they're really gonna try to travel to different timeline or time travel to try to save Colin. Hopefully, who knows? But hopefully,
I
but I'm excited to see the sequel. Anyways, I'm excited to see what happens.
start sending texts to both of the Chris's. Just be like, so what's my role in the sequel? What's the J.J. Abrams guy who was in all the Star Wars movies? He's in a bunch of Bradley Cooper movies also. I can't think of his name, but
Oh yeah.
that guy.
Greg. Is
Yeah,
it Greg Grunberg?
Yeah, exactly. Kevin Smith
Yeah.
told the story like he met him on something, and then he just texts them and goes, "So what's my role in the movie?" And they're like,
Yeah.
"All right, you can be the limo driver in Star Wars Born." Like they didn't write that for him. He's like, "So I'm in the movie, right?" So you just need to have that like shameless like, guys, you like me? I'm in your movie, right?
Grunberg, you slide dog. I didn't know that's what you had. Like a lot of the times, it's funny just with this movie coming out and stuff. Like as a person in comedy or whatever, like not only do I think it's cheesy, but like I know that like all of my friends or who I respect and who are funny are like will roll their eyes at
Yeah.
like a lot of promotion. And I've had to promote the movie not only just for the movie's sake, but for myself because I'm excited and you never know if anything like this will ever happen again. But like it's that sort of thing of like here it is, and I posted like 7 times, and then like a guy from my high school the other day was like, "You're in a movie," and I was like, "What the fuck are you doing? I gotta do this. Shut up! Like I have to do this. And and I'm excited to do it too.
You got to go to a premiere. Like that's these are legitimately fun things. Like
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't that mad at him, by the way.
no.
Sorry, Gregory. But it was that sort of thing of like you got to do these. You got to do these things. You don't know if you'll ever be in them again. And that's but like the point of like I don't think I could ever have the nerve to be like, am I in the movie? I don't think I could ever.
You would need
I don't think I could ever do it.
you would need Wire to direct a movie for you to be able to do that.
Yeah,
I think you probably say please.
there is a circle of people who are like who are my friends that I would like there's even within my friends there's some people I wouldn't ask who I'm like I won't but like the ones that I like Weiger and Susser, there's some people I'd be like, what's the role, baby? And a lot of the times
I'm just saying
because I won't be in it.
I'm just saying Sonic came out and
well they had nothing to do with they washed their hands clear of Sonic as well. So
which is still great when you listen to the podcast going, oh, they're doing Sonic. Then you see the movie and go, their names are very low on that credit list.
They because it was at a different studio and they literally became they literally weren't the writers on the end of it. Like at the end of the movie that they weren't credited as writers. No, so that's I mean they got screwed, but that shows you like 2 years or whatever. It just shows you that roller coaster ride of show business, which is again I sound like an asshole, but like it is that sort of thing of like they got it, they're gonna make this movie, this is awesome, and I read the script and it was super funny and it was great and I think better than what the movie was, but whatever. And then like, oh, there we go, and now it's a different studio, it got delayed, whatever. I mean, like that's why I feel so lucky to like you were saying before, it's that sort of thing of like, oh, I recognize that like Cowan isn't the most important character in the movie, but the fact to just be able to get, be in the movie and then have the role I have, and then after everything not be cut out of it, you know what I mean? There's so many factors even to just even get on screen that I'm super lucky and I'm happy and I'm excited about it. So
the movie is better for having someone like you in that role because didn't necessarily need it. Like the worst version of that movie doesn't have you, doesn't have Mary Lynn, probably doesn't have Sam, like has Chris Pratt, probably has J.K. Simmons, and then the rest is just, who's on the CW, grab them. But
Yeah, yeah.
whereas you almost went through the Evan and Van situation, because not quite in the same way, but movie sat for a while, then doesn't go to theaters. Like I'm sure there was a moment where you went, I'm in a big blockbuster, and of course the world ends. No one's gonna see it. Great, fantastic.
Oh, I mean, 100%. That was, I mean, like, I'm also like I love the theaters, and so it was like when it was Amazon, there was a moment where I was kind of like, oh man, like I really wanted this to come out in theaters, which I think is something Amazon should, with people really loving it, you should maybe look at that again. And there could, I mean, not only is it good just for watching the movie, like I think this movie is made to be seen in a theater with loud sound, but like there's also other stuff which I won't get into, which is good for like working class actors and stuff like that. There are things that I think that unions need to figure out about streamers, and like it's an important thing. It's like it's the thing of whether this industry is going to survive or not in many ways, and so for me it was that sort of thing of like, all right, like it's not in theaters, and I was sad about it.
Yeah, because
And
you wanted to buy a ticket for your movie.
I want to buy a ticket for my movie. I wanted to see the trailer in theaters. The thing that like made it not sting as much is that it was, like Corona, like it's still. I went and saw Fast 9 the other day, and it's like, oh, it still feels like we're slowly coming back. It doesn't feel 100% back yet. So like, it didn't sting as much as it maybe would have. And also the thing with Amazon is like it does have like incredible reach, which is cool, of like, oh, people on the other side of the people on the other side of the world will be watching it, which is like at like the same day and time, which is cool. And they did do a good job of like making it, like promoting it and making it feel like something. My mom and sister were here, and we were like out getting coffees, and we saw like the plane with the banner fly over our head and stuff like that. And so there was like stuff where they did a really good job making it
come out internationally in some places. Some places did get the theater version, because I was reading about the sequel. They claim it did really well, but they always do. Like you'll never know.
Of course, yeah.
Because like I know someone. I'm actually at my friend's house who I'm at. She's in advertising, and she told me what the most watched thing on like Netflix is, and it's not what you think. It's just like you would never have guessed what the most watched Netflix show is, because no one talks
Interesting.
about it. They just watch it. But yeah, like they said the numbers were good. I think it said in some of the international regions, like it did like record stuff for like the reopening.
Yeah.
Because
I could see it, like it was a movie that was made for theaters. You know what I mean? Like Pratt was saying, like that sort of thing of like a lot of streaming movies you watch, and like it doesn't have that same vibe, which I think he's right about. Like this feels like a movie that was supposed to be in theaters. So
you need the popcorn and like, oh, I went to go do something to watch.
Yes.
As opposed 100%. To I could have this while I'm on my phone with the TV having something, or there's porn on the computer while I'm watching on the TV. Like multitask with like the streamers.
Yes. Please, people out there, please just turn off your porn before you watch the movie, for God's sakes.
After. It's a fantastic chase.
Yeah, there you go.
All my theatrical returns have been press screening, so it's a little different. But it's good to be back. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't want to take up any more of your time. You've been incredibly generous. This is just fun for me. Because like I said, I love Doughboys. I think you're great in the movie. Like I really do think there's something to having someone like you in that role, because you care. Like the fate of him actually matters to you, because you're like, oh, I know this guy. And even, I don't know you. I know the character you play on Doughboys. But
I appreciate that, yeah.
But you watch, a supporting character and you go, okay, that guy. Like, because I don't know if you're like that, but I always did like those sort of like second or third or fourth, person in the movie, because you go, are they gonna live? Like that's who I would be in this movie. I'm not like just random guy who like, oh, he got stabbed by a Nazi in Saving Private Ryan. Great, so much for him.
Yeah, that's my buddy Dano from Quincy said a very nice thing to me. He was like, if I was 14 years old or whatever, you would have been my favorite character in the movie. And I was like, that means a lot. That's cool.
Yeah, because he's not worried about girls. Like all the things that like when you're that age. That's why like why do you think Jurassic World did so well? Like it hit everyone's like 14-year-old body. And you're like,
Yeah.
I gotta watch this. In the same way that like if you go to Galaxy's Edge and you make a lightsaber, you're giving Disney $200 to feel like a child for 10 minutes, but fuck if it didn't work.
But it works. Yeah, it works.
Oh, it's embarrassing, but I cried.
That is awesome. I love that.
You turn the lights out and you pull it up and like Yoda talks to you. Like it's everything you wanted as like a little boy. Like
I got to do it now. There's no doubt in my mind that I'll do it. I love it.
it is really good. I don't know if it's gonna be the same. I went like 2 or 3 years ago, but it's pretty immersive. Like they except for when you pay. But like you make your appointment to go do the lightsaber, and like they talk to you like you're being smuggled into this place. Like, do you have your password or whatever? But then when they bring you over, the guy is like, okay, it's gonna be $200. How you gonna pay?
Yeah, of course.
They don't even call it like they don't even call it like Imperial credits. It's like we need your.
Is the lightsaber itself cool?
It's pretty cool. So the way it works is they take you around like this table, and you have like the main hilt, and they tell you to pick your kyber crystal, which everyone who's not a Star Wars nerd is like getting annoyed at us right now. But they tell you to like first of all, you close your eyes and you pick your crystal. Like it's supposed to pick you, whether you want like a blue one or a green one or a red one or a purple one. So sort of like the idea is you're supposed to close your eyes and envision what you think a lightsaber is, and then you can customize it. And if you can, go very traditional, or you can like have like bone on the bottom and all these like things that you never saw in a movie. And then you set it up, but it is pretty cool. It's like it feels.
I'd be mad. I feel like I would do it, and then I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna close my eyes, and then I'd get like clear or something. I'd be like, clear,
yeah,
clear lightsaber.
You're like, you're ruining this. You knew the choices.
Yeah.
And also, it makes a
piss color. I got a piss color lightsaber. Yeah. What the fuck, Disney?
I think they might have secondary market kyber crystals because, of course, they do. They're Disney. But at the end, they want you to like raise it up and like turn it on, and the lights are like pitch black, so you see it go on like it normally would. And then the voice of Yoda talks about like the future and how you could be, the next. And like, all right, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted out of this. You got my money.
That sounds like this sounds like a post-COVID trip for me. Disneyland's not that far. I might have to go down and do this.
it was a lot of fun. They have like Kylo Ren. I mean, characters you're not going to be super thrilled by, but walking around and like they interrogate you and like ask if you're part of the resistance and shit like that. It's fun.
I've been to Galaxy's Edge before. I never did the lightsaber experience. And I was in the cantina. I was in the cantina. Like I've soured on it a little bit because I wish that there was like more space and more character stuff in there a little bit more. But like and now it just feels so much like, all right, we're gonna go here and stand and have like a $30 drink and then like and then be pushed out. So like my thoughts have definitely changed on that, and I hope, who knows, maybe they'll figure it out as time goes on. But
cantina was good. I think the cantina you do.
Yes.
You get You get the drink that like makes your lip numb, and then you go, okay, that was fun, I guess, and then you move on. But the food, I will say, was really good around in the area.
Oh, I think that the Ronto wrap is like one of the best things in Disney. It's so good.
Yeah, I went back.
They're so good.
And the chicken was really good. The Endorian Tipiat, I think they called it, which is just like chicken. It's chicken cutlet, but it was really good.
I hurt my tooth when I was eating a Ronto wrap, which reminds me that I need to sue Disney. I forgot. I got to put that on my to-do list.
That would be. Listen, I just want to mention on an episode when you win the lawsuit. That's it. I think you're frozen. All right. So my Steve.
I didn't even ask me.
Yeah, no. He'll my tech guy will cut around what we did. But just to sort of wrap up, like I said, I really enjoy you in the movie. I really enjoy the movies. That helps. But listen, there's something about like seeing a guy you want to see do well. Like
I appreciate that.
Don't tell Weiger, but I would feel the same way if he was in this movie. But because I like how did this get played too. Like there's some like that's the thing I think is really fun about if you find, especially comedy people who you like there is still like a persona, but there is more of yourself, I think, than like, listen, I'm sure Chris Pratt is lovely, but I don't think we're necessarily seeing Chris Pratt. Like I'm sure on
Yeah,
set, a conversation about Wendy's is different than, if I had 10 minutes with them or like what you see in the movie. There's something about,
sure.
a comedian or especially like people who podcast, you feel like you know who they are a little bit more and it makes you invest in them a little bit more.
Oh, that's flattering. I appreciate that. I think that, yeah, I think that's a good thing, and can be like there, and then there can be the thing of like where people are like, you idiot, like they know
Yeah.
me specifically from the podcast. So I'm like, well, I'm not like 100% like I am on the podcast either, but we definitely are. We talk for so many hours that people definitely get to know us and have a sense of who we are as people. And then with Pratt, like he's Star Lord. You know what I mean? Like it's like I thought about that a lot, of that sort of thing of when I was going down there to film, I found out on a Tuesday that I went in and auditioned, and then I had to record Doughboys later that day, and I found out that day that I was possibly going to Atlanta by the end of the week, which was such a crazy day. And Weiger was there, and it was awesome. I mean, it was a great day. But that Saturday or that Sunday, I was in a plane in first class, which was great, and the seat was empty next to me. And then right before they shut the doors, Pratt came in and he sat next to me, and I was like, oh man, now I can't. I was gonna fall asleep. I'm not gonna fall asleep or whatever. And he was sitting next to me, and even just in first class, like people, like a couple people were kind of asking for photos and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh, being at that level of celebrity is crazy. And I don't know if you can ever, people really knew him through Parks and Rec and stuff like that, but I'm not sure if you can ever really know someone. Like, you have to be a little bit guarded, I think, when you're at that level. But for, a part of the podcast is for us to, like, people know who my mom is and my friends and stuff like that.
Your cats, like, there's a thing.
Yeah, the cats, Wally and Irma, who are running around here somewhere, but like, it's that sort of thing of like, you gotta talk, you gotta talk for so long, and you want to stay entertaining, and so you're just spitting out every single thing, every detail about yourself since you've been born. So which, like, it wasn't my plan to be like so personal with people through the podcast or whatever. Not that I'm not a private guy really at all, obviously, but it's that, like, I don't know if I would share as much as I have if not for the podcast. But I think people like that, and I think it's a good thing. I think, like, getting to know people, and then it is hard, like, like when people don't like what you say, or you've done something they don't like. I think that can be, they take it personally, and then that can be hard too, because I'm like, well, you like when you're getting yelled at online, you're like, you don't really, but you don't know me, you don't know what this meant, or what, what I mean. So that can be the other tough side of it too. But I appreciate, like, I really appreciate our listeners. We have a Patreon, and there's a certain level where you can be Platinum Plate Club, and we have a Discord basically where we chat with people, and I those people are great. I'm like a fan of talking to those people, and a lot of the people that post up online. For the most part, it is the people who listen to the show are usually pretty great people and get it and stuff like that. So we owe so much to our listeners, and the least we can do is kind of be real and be ourselves. Weiger is more of a guy that, like, he kind of guards a lot of that stuff and is more private, and people still know so much about him. It's just that sort of thing of when you're spending that much time with somebody, which I think we didn't know going into the podcast. It's like, oh, you're going to be like commute buddies with a lot of these people. They're going to be listening to you to and from work, like on a weekly basis, and sometimes twice a week. So, like, you're going to really get to know a lot of these people, and, like, be around with them, and people are always like, it feels like I know you, and it feels like we're friends. But, and then the opposite side of that is, like, when I get support from people, like, you feel that too, with the movie, I was like, oh, this is so great. Some of the stuff that people were saying of, like, like, we want, like, more, and I was like, oh God, please don't embarrass. Yeah, more Cowan cut and stuff like that. Even though that was even a thing I joked about at one point, but like just some of the stuff where I'm like, oh, there are so many great actors in the movie, and I'm not like, I don't want to make it seem like I'm doing this or something like that. But the listeners are so supportive, and so like, yeah, sometimes I'm like, oh God, I don't want this to be embarrassing or whatever, and to for. I'm sure like when Pratt is reading through the trees, he's like, what the fuck is this? What is this Doughboys bullshit, or what is happening here? But like but it shows that like the listeners are super supportive, and we owe a lot to them, and when the movie came out, just hearing from everybody, it's still something that I have to go through, is like go through all of my messages and Instagram and Facebook and just say thank you, because that's the least I can do to people who support me. So
Sure.
that will be what I do for the next couple weeks probably. But you feel it that way too?
Yeah, and it means a lot to people. Like you don't know what someone's going through, that like, oh, I was
Of
having
course, yeah.
shitty time and I didn't think about it for 2.5 hours, or I listened to Doughboys and I was like even for me, like I had a pretty normal, like, okay, I guess I'm not leaving the house for a year, but I would go walk on the boardwalk, and like you go back and forth and it's about like 7 miles. It's like an hour and a half or so. I was like, that's a Doughboys episode. Like, so as I'm avoiding people, I'm like, oh, like Mike and Nick are like safe because they're not here and this is from 4 years ago. But I'm exercising and now I want, like spam somehow because of that Hawaiian restaurant they're talking about. Like there's something to it. So
no, for sure. No, that I mean, like, and it means a lot to us too. I mean, like it like you don't, and then we'll get messages from people that will tell us things like that, and it makes us feel like, oh, it does make us feel like it's worth doing the podcast. It does make us feel like, oh, like this is reaching people in some way, and it's great. And honestly, truly, that the support that people gave me in the last week and a half, 2 weeks has been and always has been really great. So
and it's something you don't get at like Pratt's level. And like again, like we're not like not mocking him, but like at a certain level, you can't engage with people anymore. There's too many. And if you say thank you to one, 75,000 people are gonna be pissed you didn't say it to them. So you just sort of like remove that part from your life. Like I'm sure he doesn't look at the comments on his Instagram. If he even, that's where you get the love, like someone do this for me and it's fine. And it's not anything against that person, but it's, I can't, fairly engage with this anymore. And that's just, you guys don't have to deal with that. And that's kind of a good thing in a way.
For sure. No, I think that he is, I think he does run his own Instagram, and I think he like does, but I think he does try to reach out. But I do think it is the thing with him of like, yeah, there's millions of people know who this. He has millions of followers, millions of people know who he is. So like, it's hard to ever, it's hard to see through some of that stuff, like
I'm sure.
But
yeah, I'm sure if you took his phone, I was like, let me see your Instagram, thing. His DMs are like, okay, someone telling him he's a cuck for some reason, somebody saying I love you. There's tits. There's more.
Yeah.
Like it's just, you can't possibly.
And by the way, all of those things are just from my message to him.
It's just you being like, I just to wrap up that. First, someone called me that when I gave the girl Ghostbusters movies like a half-heartedly good review. They're like, well, while you were watching that movie, I was fucking your wife. I'm like, I'm not even mad. I'm not married. You're just not doing good research.
That's very, yeah.
That to everyone, hoping you were right once.
There's no, I mean, like, it's that funny thing of like on the podcast, I will get mad about like a couple movies I don't like, but for the most part, I stay away from it because I'm like, what is the point of actually getting angry at someone for like specifically an individual for what they liked or didn't like? So
whatever, life is tough. Whatever makes you happy. Like,
hey, there's people who listen to Doughboys. So
yeah. Like, yeah, people
that just shows you that there's the people have weird tastes.
Yeah. You not only do people listen, there are people who have decided to give you money to continue doing it. Not
it's true.
Interesting point of view, but just we like what you do. Here's money. Keep doing it.
It's yes, which will show you right there that which we're very grateful for, by the way. But we'll show you people got different tastes.
Yeah,
I would never listen to Doughboys ever.
I mean, listen, I'm behind, but I do. The problem, the one problem, then I'll let you go. Can't listen to it when you go to sleep. Can't fall asleep to it because you get hungry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not, and we're also like loud and annoying. It's not a good sleep podcast.
I mean, this is kind of a backhanded compliment to Weiger, but I fall asleep to how this get played all the time. I mean, it's not
Weiger,
that way.
Weiger should just be one of those like, yeah, the sleep app people. That's, you should just get you. We should record him for an hour and make millions because he usually puts me to sleep while we're doing the show together. So
Yeah. Well, congratulations again. Like I said, I really enjoy you in the movie. I credit everyone who thought of, let's have, you and Mary Lynn, like, let's just have
yeah,
people who, listen, we understand the character is sort of like not underwritten because it's a supporting character. It's not meant to be a particularly three-dimensional character, but let's cast it in a way that does that work. And that's a talent, as opposed to, we have X amount of time to make the movie. The first cut is going to be 3 hours or whatever. We're already going to cut this to shreds to make it, a 2.5 hour movie. Let's cast people who will do that work for us. And I think you did a great job.
Oh, thank you so much, man. Yeah, and a credit to Chris and the and Samantha and the two Chris's and Samantha and everybody that allowed me to be a part of the movie. So
yeah, my pleasure, and I look forward to.
Yeah, thank you, dude.
Too big to answer my messages to do interviews.
Oh no, that will never happen. I'll always answer.
I will hold you to it. Awesome. I thank you. I really do appreciate this.
Of course, dude. Yeah, thank you for having me.
My pleasure.